You probably scroll past this game on the eShop every single week without even noticing it. But if you want a true old-school MMORPG experience in the palm of your hands, you are completely missing out. Elemental Knights R looks like a retro game, and I am not going to lie, it is clunky, but that is exactly the charm. It has an insanely deep class system, ridiculous skill trees, and a dedicated cult following that actually talks to each other in town squares. You can grind for legendary drops for hours while lying in bed. It runs flawlessly on the Switch because the graphics are so simple, meaning your battery will not die mid-raid. But if you think those graphics are too dated, wait until you see the absolute anime chaos hiding in the next spot.
Imagine taking Japanese mythology, throwing in insanely fast hack-and-slash combat, and dropping it into an MMO world that nobody talks about. This game flew completely under the radar when it hit the Switch. You are basically fighting massive demons and teaming up with other players in a really bizarre, fast-paced action system that feels more like an arcade game than a traditional MMO. It is completely free, and the best part is that you can bring AI companions along if the servers feel a little quiet. Playing this handheld feels like a beat-em-up mixed with hardcore stat grinding, yet as wild as Japanese mythology gets, nothing prepares you for a massive dungeon pushing your Switch hardware to the absolute limit. Porting massive mobile MMOs to a console sounds like a complete disaster, but Avabel Online somehow pulls it off perfectly on the Switch. This is the definition of a hidden gem because you probably thought it was just cheap shovelware. It actually features a gigantic central tower where every single floor is a completely different biome with its own monsters and raid bosses. The grind here is absolutely brutal, which is exactly what real MMO fans want. The Switch controllers map beautifully to the skill hotbars, making combat feel way more responsive than tapping a phone screen. It is a pocket-sized time sink that will consume your weekend. Speaking of mobile ports that secretly dominate, the next title has a player economy so hardcore it will blow your mind. Do not let the generic title fool you. Torum Online has one of the most flexible class systems of any MMO available today. Most games lock you into being a warrior or a mage forever. Here, you just equip a weapon and start building your stats exactly how you want. You can be a sword-swinging healer if you feel like it. The Switch version brings actual physical button controls to a game that already had a massive hidden community. You will see hundreds of players crowding the market areas, trading rare drops and crafting materials. It feels like a living, breathing economy right inside your backpack. But if you are tired of traditional fantasy worlds, maybe you should try strapping on a jetpack and becoming a god instead. A sci-fi fantasy MMO where you literally turn into a god, and yet nobody even knows. You can download it for free on Nintendo. Skyforge is completely wild. You start as an immortal soldier and grind your way up to having your own cult of worshippers. The class switching is instant. 1 second you are slicing enemies with a huge sword, and the next you pull out a massive plasma cannon. The Switch port had a rough launch, which is why everyone abandoned it, but it has quietly received updates and runs surprisingly well now. You get massive world bosses and gorgeous alien planets right on your OLED screen. Sure, being a god is cool, but what if you just want to tear apart the entire world block by block? People look at Trove and immediately call it a Minecraft clone, but that is the biggest mistake you could ever make. Trove is a hardcore loot-driven MMO disguised as a cute voxel game. You are not just building houses, you are running through randomized dungeons, fighting massive bosses, and farming ridiculous amounts of gear. The classes are insane, ranging from a pirate captain to a dragon tamer. On the Switch, it is the ultimate game to play while watching television. You just hop into a realm, join a massive train of other players, and blow up entire dungeons for loot. The community is still shockingly active. As fun as blasting blocks can be, surviving a radioactive wasteland with real stakes might be the tension you actually need. Looter shooters rarely feel like true MMOs, but Vigor drops you into a persistent, stressful world that will make your hands sweat.
You are fighting for scraps in post-war Norway. You load into an instance with other players, loot abandoned houses, and try to escape before a massive radiation cloud kills you. If you die, you lose everything in your backpack. It is an MMO-light survival experience that is completely ignored on the Switch eShop. Building up your personal shelter with the loot you extract gives you that massive sense of long-term progression. Plus, the gyro aiming on the Joy-Cons actually gives you a competitive edge. But maybe you prefer shooting massive armies instead of sneaking around abandoned cabins.
Finding a tactical, military-style MMO shooter on the Switch is almost impossible, which is exactly why Warface is such a rare find. Everyone plays the big battle royales, completely ignoring this class-based shooter that actually has dedicated multiplayer raid missions. You can team up with 4 other players, choose roles like medic or engineer, and run through heavily scripted cooperative campaigns. The progression system is deeply tied to unlocking weapons and armor, giving it that familiar MMO grind. It runs at a super smooth frame rate in docked mode, making it feel like a premium console shooter rather than a free-to-play ghost town. Military gear is great, but hunting behemoths the size of buildings is an entirely different kind of adrenaline.
Everyone calls it the free version of Monster Hunter, but Dauntless is a full-blown multiplayer hub of pure boss-fighting chaos. This game deserves way more respect on the Switch. You hang out in a bustling central city, craft armor from the exact monsters you just slaughtered, and then queue up with random players for another hunt. The crossplay is flawless, meaning you are never waiting in a lobby. You could be playing on the bus while your team is on PC. The combat is fast, flashy, and extremely satisfying. It is the perfect bite-sized MMO loop of kill, craft, repeat. Chopping up monsters is fine, but capturing them and forcing them to fight your battles is a whole different level of addiction. You probably forgot this game even existed after its launch hype, but Temtem is the creature-catching MMO you always dreamed of playing. It is a massive, fully online world where every single trainer you see running around is a real person. You can trade, battle, and even play through the entire story in co-op mode. It completely changes the monster catching formula because there is no random luck in battles. It is all pure strategy. The Switch is obviously the perfect console for a game like this. Taking your competitive breeding grind on the go feels completely natural, and the vibrant art style pops beautifully on the handheld screen. But what if you don't want to fight at all?
An MMO without combat sounds boring until you realize how incredibly addicting it is to just live in a virtual world. Palia is a cozy MMO that completely flew under the radar for hardcore gamers. Instead of raiding dungeons, your endgame is farming, fishing, and building the ultimate house. But you are doing it in a massive shared world. You can run into a forest, find a huge glowing tree, and actually need 3 other real players to help you chop it down. It is surprisingly relaxing, but has that deeply addictive MMO progression loop. Playing this in bed on a lazy Sunday on your Switch is pure magic. If farming feels too grounded for you, maybe it is time to literally leave the planet behind.
You might argue it is not a traditional MMO, but the multiplayer hub and persistent universe make this the ultimate hidden gem for sci-fi explorers. The fact that this game even runs on the Switch is a technical miracle, but the sheer scale of the multiplayer aspects is what keeps people hooked. You can visit the Nexus, meet up with travelers from across the galaxy, and check out bases built by the community. You are sharing an infinite universe, hunting for rare ships, and crashing markets with massive alien economies. Taking an entire galaxy in your backpack is a feeling no other console can give you. Space is massive and lonely, but the next game proves that pure human connection can be an entire genre on its own.
You have never played an MMO like this in your entire life, and it is criminal how many Switch owners ignore it. Built by the creators of Journey, this is a social MMO where you fly through gorgeous ruined kingdoms. There is no chat box. You communicate with other players through musical instruments and emotes. You will randomly team up with a stranger, hold their hand, and guide each other through terrifying storms. The feeling of community here is stronger than games with massive text chats. The Switch version runs like butter, and the visual direction is an absolute masterpiece. But if you want a game that ditches the peaceful vibes and lets you punch Superman in the face, you need to check this out.
A superhero MMO from the older console generations is somehow still alive and kicking on the Nintendo Switch, and it is a massive content goldmine. Most people have completely forgotten about DC Universe Online, but it is packed with over a decade of story missions, raids, and gear. You create your own hero or villain, pick your powers, and fly around Gotham and Metropolis alongside iconic characters. The action combat translates surprisingly well to the Joy-Cons. It is wild seeing dozens of custom heroes crowding the Watchtower on a handheld console. The file size is huge, but the sheer amount of free content you get is staggering. Yet, even with all those superpowers, there is one sci-fi ninja universe that completely dominates the Switch hardware.